Hey dudes, welcome back to another episode of our Rhomas Men's Team podcast. You are about to listen to one of our prior team meetings. If you ever want to join one of our live sessions that we have every Monday and Friday, head over to rhomas.com. That's RHOMAS.com and put your email in and we will send you a live link every time we record. We generally record on Mondays and Fridays. So if you ever want to be on the actual podcast, like we bring men up all the time to talk about their goals, talk about their obstacles, etc., head over to rhomas.com. And then also, if you want to help support the channel grow and also have access to exclusive content, book reviews, extra whiteboard sessions, etc., and some coaching sessions, head over to patreon.com and support us. We would love it. But if not, no biggie. We'll see you on the live sessions. Later, dudes. Enjoy this podcast.
All right. We're here. We're live. It's Monday. It's just clockwork at this point. It doesn't stop.
Pumped up, man.
Me too, man. I'm pretty stoked right now.
I'm going through a little wild period of my life in a good way, and I'm looking forward to kicking off my usage of the scorecard this week officially. The scorecard that I made. If anybody needs it, let me know. I made it. I sent it out to the guys in the the Discord. I sent out the link in the comments, and then I'm setting up the Rhomas website, so we'll have a URL. You can just go and download it. But bear with me in the meantime. And Troy, Lucas, Jay, Clee, what's up, all? Delco Jim, what's up? Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Let's do this thing, Matt. How you doing, man?
Oh yeah, dude. Dude, I'm enjoying your wild period, dude. You're bucking right now. You're bucking.
Bucking, man.
So I started using the scorecard today, dude. I love it because I have my habit thing that I keep track of, but this one keeps me on keeps my water up and keeps this is a good supplement to check everything, and it's a nice little, thing to keep me it's like a very general thing that you really can't argue with any of these, to be honest.
Right. Yeah, it's to give us a foundation. And what I might do, what do you think about maybe adding to it that front page, write your top 3 goals. That would make it more specific or customized to you and get to focus. What do you think about that?
I think that's a good idea. That way, like I said, anything to replicate this sheet that you basically gave me, I think is dude, just to have something that you can come down to in the morning, rather than kind of dude, it's funny. So I was excited about this. So I'm doing the psych null research. I'm doing the learning modules, and it's always cool when things kind of, have kind of like a cross whatever disciplinary utility. So I'm doing the one about cognitive diffusion, which is the practice of forgetting, not so much being worried whether or not your thoughts are literally true. But typically we have a thought I'm a loser, and then we typically our thoughts are back and forth no, I'm not. Well, yes you are. No, and we start listing reasons and figuring out why we might be or might not be a loser. And a lot of times that kind of dictates our behavior in ways that ultimately don't end up serving us. But the idea of cognitive diffusion is to just watch yourself think that you're a loser and go and then the thing you're putting your thoughts on is what is functional or not for you. And, in order to know what's functional or not, you have to have some sort of thing that you're trying to do. Otherwise, your mind goes into what's called the default mode network, which is when your mind's not given a task. It's almost goes into the state where it's almost like your mental screensaver. So it's your mind just kind of, because, our minds are dissolved to kind of try to solve problems. And if we can give ourselves a problem or task to solve that's inherently meaningful to us, we can hit that flow state, rather than if we don't have that flow state or anything we're doing that we kind of like to do or enjoy, or, can, I guess, feel good about dedicating our mental resources toward, our mind drifts into, again, what they're calling the default mode network. And that's just your mind, then just everything pops up at once of you'll start to maybe fantasize about well, this is what I could do, or start to ruminate on stuff you did that was kind of stupid in the past. And if the more time we spend in this kind of mental free fall default state, they say there's a positive correlation between that, anxiety, depression, blah, 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 blah. Which makes sense.
Absolutely makes sense.
Yeah, man. And then it's, they always say it goes down to that old, I always look for when science and folk wisdom kind of complement each other. Cause it's devil idle hands, the devil's workshop. And it's that kind of makes sense, man, in terms of looking at the brain regions that activate when we're doing nothing. It's like parts of our brains become more active weirdly when we're not doing anything.
No, I mean, it makes complete sense. I mean, if you look at nature, and Jordan Peterson talks a lot about this, but like you said, like the folklore, the quick little one-liners, if you don't use it, you lose it, etc. I mean, nature and the universe just have a way of saying, prove it to me that you should be in existence, prove it to me that you deserve my resources. And that all that's laced through the Bible. It's laced through, a lot of stuff that we're taught. And it's very true. It is very, very true.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's more fun to do that.
It is. I mean, I'm telling you, man. And it's like, dude, it's just more, that was the thing that I was kind of like, as I was doing my psych null stuff, I was like, aha, I'm like, that's the exact thing I'm going for. And that's kind of the exact, not justification, but like, if there ever was more, I don't know, kind of pros to check off on the list of like consciously directing your attention towards things that you choose yourself to do and thus giving your own life meaning, purpose, vitality, or whatever. It's like the default mode network is just another like, yes, another little check on the pros list. I can't think of many cons, man. It's like typically there's stuff that comes up where I'm like, yeah, but it's like I don't encounter them, man. And it's like, so pretty pleased because I feel like I'm on pretty solid ground right now. And it's pretty nice.
Oh yeah, you're on fire, buddy. Yeah, no, I mean, without doubt. I mean, just even when we talk off of this podcast, the amount of things that you're accomplishing is insane. I mean, you are already an accomplished dude, but like now to see the holistic accomplishments coming through, it's awesome.
Dude, it rules, man. It was just the form. It was like the intention was there, the energy was there, and I lacked the form, and it just ended up in like this spazzy, like, overworking, underworking, just this like never really knowing what's going on state where it was just this like constant spaz. And now, yeah, there's definitely structure to that. So it's like I can definitely spaz that all day and the stuff that I want to do, and then I can like fully rest and relax. And it's like I'll keep talking about it till I die, dude. It's the best.
Hell yeah, man. And Delco Jim sent over a comment. It says, happy to say since the beginning of this, I've spent significantly less time thinking about shit that doesn't matter that I can't change. And that's a huge win. So Delco Jim, big shout out. Yeah, man. I think it's a combination of, the book that Matt and I referenced a lot is called The Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill. And phenomenal book, a really old time book. And, there's some corny stuff in there too, but just great lessons. And one of the things they say is, number one, spend your time in accurate thinking. So that removes a whole lot of stuff that you should not be thinking about, especially inaccurately. But then, so, kind of only think about facts when it comes to whatever judgment of yourself or assessment of the results and so on. But then in that category of accuracy and facts, there are irrelevant facts and then there are relevant facts, right? So facts that don't matter and then facts that do matter. So you're more of a narrow scope of things to think about. And Delco Jim, to your point, so there's a whole bunch of things out there that might be fact that are completely irrelevant to me. That's one of the reasons I don't watch the news. It's like, it's the whole saying. It's only news. It's not news if it's not news a week from now. I extend that. It's not news unless it's news 3 months from now, and that pretty much gives me that whole cohort of time back to not think about facts that are irrelevant towards my goals. So Delco Jim, and then the other part is stay busy, like stay in action towards your goals, and you'll find that there's just no space to think about a lot of the stuff that you used to think about. I mean, I don't know, Matt, what are your thoughts on that?
100%, dude. There's the whole stay busy. I remember my mom gave me that advice very, very early on when I was like 23 and I started getting really bad anxiety, and she was just like, just stay busy, And if you, the thing that I think it's good advice. It's just stay mindfully busy. I think is a little, I think icing you should put on that, because sometimes we can mindlessly stay busy, and I've spent a lot of hours in mindless, busy states, and I don't think it's the best. So, but if you can stay busy within some sort of form and structure, it's like, yeah, dude, it's like. It's the best thing you can do. I mean, it's like working out versus not working out. It's like laying on a couch versus like moving your body. And it's like, idling mentally versus like focusing on directed tasks. I think it's something people should be doing all the time. But the thing I think that hooks people a lot of times out of this is kind of evaluation and comparison. I think that's the poison. I think that kind of is always ready. We're always about to like tip that in our drink. And so I was late last night. I was actually thinking about, the default mode network is not like a bad thing, because it's like a lot of times, I don't know if you have this a lot, but a lot of times I come up with ideas right as I'm about to fall asleep. And that's because like or we just kind of let go of our brains and kind of ideas kind of spin around. And it's not really anything that like profound or anything, but it was just interesting for me to think about. So I started thinking about, I've since, if you've known me since I was younger, I've always been hung up on this idea of being a loser. Like, are you a loser? Then like, you might think you're a loser and you do something that everyone's like, oh, that's pretty cool. Then like all of a sudden you're magically not a loser. Like, is it like more of an internal thing? Is it more dependent on the, external opinions, and how do you kind of gauge that? And I thought of the band Nirvana. Remember Nirvana? They were huge, worldwide sensation in the 90s. And a little known fact, or I don't know if people really know that much about Nirvana, they did an acoustic album, and they brought up this band that was their personal hero. One of them, I guess, the Meat Puppets, who are a way lesser known band. They had a little bit of success, but nothing like Nirvana. Nirvana was on another level of just like commercial success, but they looked up to a band who didn't have that much commercial success. So it's like, who, and I'm using the term winning loosely, but like, who wins there? If you're the hero of the person who has like tremendous commercial success, like who would you rather be? And it's like, if you look at the fates, ultimately Kurt Cobain shot himself in the face with a shotgun, and the guy from the Meat Puppets, to my knowledge, is still bopping around playing music. So it's like, who wins there, and it's like, one had a ton of external validation, ultimately committed suicide. The other one has significantly less, but they're just still doing their thing, playing music. And I saw them years ago, and they're really good. So that was something I thought about. Like, when you're like, man, I'm a loser, I'm comparing myself to other people. It's like, it's just kind of a fool's errand. And it's almost like a form of like, self-whipping. It's like, you might be like loser. And like, that person you're looking up to or comparing yourself to could very well be like, damn, that person's a man. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's hard to really nail that down. And I think it's really ill-advised to kind of act on those kind of evaluations and comparisons.
Well, yeah, I think looking to, like when we look at unicorns, like you're saying, Nirvana's a unicorn, Michael Jordan's a unicorn. You pick Michael Phelps is a unicorn. I think and I've gotten tripped up on this as well. I think one of the problems is instead of just grabbing inspiration from them, we kind of grab like a certain like competitive thing. Now, my number one thing is competition. So like, I know I'm very susceptible to this. But I think oftentimes we're comparing the wrong games. It's like, that guy is not playing the same game that you are. He might be using one facet of the game, but that's his whole game. Versus your whole game and my whole game is to try to build a holistic life, like a well-balanced life, and perform in each one of those areas. So it'd be irrational to take that one thing. That's why we have this thing when these superstars eventually hit a big roadblock, cheat on their wives, or like you said, to commit suicide or whatever it is. Unfortunately, that's because a lot of times that's because we put them on this pedestal, when in reality it's like, no, they just perform extremely well at that one particular thing. It oftentimes does not work, right? Like holistically, I shouldn't say often, but there's a lot of times where that does not work. And I think if you make that, and we can do this at a smaller level, right? The guy down the street who's got the fancy cars, whatever it is, but it's like, you should only be taking inspiration from those people, but realize that unless you're playing the same exact game as them, like trying to be a good father, trying to be healthy, trying to be whatever, right? Trying to produce for your family, all of these things, it's borderline impossible to have the same game as somebody else. We can only, so therefore we can only take inspiration from other people. We cannot necessarily compare our scorecards to a certain degree. I think you can take that too far. And me being a finance guy, it's like, the market's the market. So where in that spectrum? Like, because I can understand, it's like, don't compare yourself too hard, but at the same time, the market is the market. So if we look at the market of, let's just say, females, right? They are looking for a certain amount of things, and other men are going to be offering those things. So it's just a matter of properly calibrating your psychology so that's a healthy understanding of what reality is in terms of your competition. If that does that make sense? No,
absolutely, dude. I think that's something to honestly. That's something I think we project on others, that like they're after the same thing we're after, or we are kind of after the same thing they are, or we'll just see like one benefit of somebody else's life and then be like, damn, their life's better than mine. And you don't know what the fuck they're dealing with, or what they're up against. I also saw there's a couple things. I saw Chalupa threw in a thing, said we're all comparing ourselves to you two. And again, that's a projection, because that's something I understand the point he's making, but it's like, you don't know what everyone else is thinking. And it's like, that's my exact point. It's like, it's like comparing along what dimensions, like what what are the dimensions? And, it's because there's a lot of times, like you were saying, Wes, we don't kind of like break down another person's life who, we're looking at maybe being like, damn, like I used to do this to people all the time. Damn, they got it figured out. Oh man. And I typically didn't know these people very well. Oh man, they have it figured out. And then you meet them and you go, like this guy's kind of a freak. We do that with adults when we're younger. Oh man, adults have it figured out. So it's really like when we catch ourselves doing that, it's like, it's helpful because we'll compare ourselves in this like binary, like winner loser, rather than like along the multiple dimensions that a person can excel in life and, blah, 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 blah. So, again, that's something that I think really helps. And it's, again, once you start, I should say, once I started more engaging in just like structured, self-directed activity, there's really nothing, there's nothing more that I really want. Like I do have goals and external things. Like, I want a house with a backyard eventually and all that stuff, but that's in due time. But I can go to my friends' houses who have big backyards and I'm like, dude, this rules. And I just get pumped on eventually getting one rather than being like, I should have this, So there's a big difference.
Benefit. Oh, sorry, go ahead, bud.
No, there's a big difference. And it's like, if you stay busy and if you're doing everything, this is this is kind of my rule of thumb. If you're doing everything in your power to kind of like, make your life and others around yours better, a lot of that weird jealous stuff kind of falls to the side, because it's like, because a lot of that's kind of guilt. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Dude, I completely agree. I don't know a single person that is committed to that, of creating value for yourself and creating value for others, who is unhappy or has these, weird thoughts like you're saying. Like if you just focus on how can I help as many people as possible, and including yourself on that list, treating yourself as you are a neutral person, treating yourself, if that makes sense, treating yourself as you are someone different. You're on that list of people to provide value to. I don't know anybody who has a negative mindset in that regard, because the cool thing is, man, as humans, it doesn't matter where you start. We all are gifted with a certain amount of energy. Doesn't matter about your physical body, doesn't matter, whatever, right? It's you have a certain amount of energy, a certain amount of caloric fuel that you can use to apply towards something. And if you can apply that towards something good, towards something valuable for others and for yourself, it's impossible to lose, man. I mean, it really, really is. I know people who, if you look at them from the outside, looking in, they don't have anything, right? Or they got some physical, like my uncle's a great example. My uncle's got both my uncles, have physical handicaps. And you talk to either of them, and every single time they're like, "Oh, I'm doing great." And in your mind, you're like, "Oh man, like it always teaches me." One of them can't read, just got two of his feet half cut off. Damn. Like literally. So he's just got a heel and then part of his foot. So all of his toes cut off, down to the middle of the foot. And you talk to this guy, and he's one of the happiest dudes in the world. And literally, I'll say, "Well, I heard you were sick." He's like, "Yeah, but what am I going to complain about?" And in my head, I'm like, I don't know, maybe you're missing feet, maybe, right? Like all of those things, you're constantly in and out of the hospital, but nope, you cannot get a complaint out of this guy, even if you tried. It's impossible.
Yeah, man. I fucking love stuff like that, man. Or just being around. It's like, again, that goes back to the thing I think we talked about last night on the dad meet thing. It's like, all right, because I've been struggling with this in terms of like, you hear someone hits you with their setup and, you just want to be like, I think especially as men, you have like this problem solving mind where it's like, rather than empathizing for the most part, there's a lot of times like, how can I fix your situation so you don't have to do that? And a lot of times you just can't, or at least not for the, in the short term. And one of the big things I think is good to think about, like if you genuinely can't change a situation, or at least it's going to take like several years, there's always the adjustment available of attitudinal values of like, how are you going to face that and how are you going to let that affect you? That is a decision you get to make. So it's like, and if you just only start with one, if you say, look, I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do with myself. I this or that. Everyone can always start by just trying to adjust their attitude towards their day and approach their day with a state of openness and curiosity rather than just like misery and punishment and like, And it's like, dude, it's like, you're not always going to be positive and not saying everyone should try to be like a Stepford wife, but it's like, if you can catch yourself whenever I'm in a funk. And again, the mindfulness bell on my phone, the biggest thing I have, it dings. And if I'm in a negative funk or I'm just being a bitch, I'm just like, I'm arguing with my wife and I'm just like, I know I'm kind of like, I'm just trying to win an argument and just ruminating or thinking like, well, if I don't go upstairs for a while, that'll show her. You're just like being a fucking bitch. Yeah. My phone dings and I go, I'm being a bitch. Like I confront it instantly. I'm being a bitch. Let me go apologize. Even if like I don't feel 100% wrong, just that's like one aspect of my life. Same with work. oh man, I'm not going to be good enough. I'm not going to do it. Dude, it's immense pressure to do stand up, man. It's like every single time I'm like, oh, dude, I'm a fucking bomb. I suck. I shouldn't be doing it. You know, I can just go down this rabbit hole. You know, it's like ding, and it's like, all right, what am I doing here? All right, let me focus on what's ahead, you know, and let things just be what they are and just try to go in with as good of an attitude as possible.
Is there a single question or a group of questions or statements that you say to yourself that instantly changes the perspective? Because I know I have a few, but I'd be curious to hear yours.
Yeah, go first, because I'm trying to. Well, the biggest thing now, the quickest thing I can think of is just taking myself out of the equation in terms of like being good versus bad and just judging versus my, you know, intentions. It's like, what are my intentions here? And it's like, all I can do is have good intentions and try my best. That's am I doing that? Yes or no? Okay. That's literally all I can do. In terms of like trying to control the outcome, it'll just affect my performance negatively across whatever I'm doing.
Yeah. And Delco Jim is saying one of his is does this really fucking matter in the grand scheme? Is it worth losing the time being upset? Yeah, like those little things. So Matt, I want to make sure I'm hearing yours again. Can you say it one more time?
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's funny, I probably just forgot it that fast. Are my intentions, am I well-intentioned in what I'm doing? And am I trying my best at this thing? Those two things. If I can ask myself, like, you know, am I out here trying to, like, you know, like prove, like, am I on some like vendetta mode of like, I'm going to show you? And for me personally, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That doesn't work for me personally. It's just, I'm not productive. I get hung up on stuff. So it's like, the book I'm writing right now, am I well-intentioned in writing it? Meaning, like, you know, what am I trying to achieve? Just purely like, I want to be published and sit next to Oprah, or it's like, I have thoughts that I think might be valuable. And I want to craft something that people can like read, deepen their experience in their own life and think about stuff. You know, that's where I'm trying to write my book. And am I doing my best trying to do that? There's that mode of creating, which is like, I just get lost in and I like, versus what I've done previously of like, is this good enough to be consumed by, you know, a publisher? And it's like, I'm reworking every sentence. Like, this isn't good enough. This isn't good enough. Or like, oh, this is it. That doesn't matter to me. That whole like trying to control the outcome versus like controlling my intention and trying my hardest. And if I'm doing that, things will work out however they work out, because that's literally all I can actually do.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think those little mental jujitsu moves right at the crucial periods of time are extremely important. So for me, the thing that I always remember in my head is probability of living in America is 4%. And that kind of does it for me. It's like, I already hit the jackpot. So no matter what's happening right now, it's like, yes, but I live in America. And, you know, and you can interchange that for any developed country, right? Where it's like, we have all of these luxuries around us that we don't even consider luxuries just because they're so normal to us. Electricity, water, all of these things. And then, the other part that I ask myself is almost a mirror image. It's like, was I trying to create value? If I was trying to create value and the market didn't receive it correctly, the person took it the wrong way, I knew that my intention, just like you're saying, was spot on. So I can kind of laugh it off, like if it kind of goes wrong. And then honestly, it's just the stay on offense thing really, really helps me. Right. Like, oh, just stay on offense. As soon as I notice myself getting defensive minded, and I know that I can have a little pity party for myself every once in a while, because like I always say, it feels good to feel bad. Yep. And you just kind of want to dig your heels in that. It's like, no, but I want to feel bad right now. I don't want to go to the gym. And then it's like, stay on offense. And I just say it to myself just enough, and it gets me to do the next thing. And within 5 minutes of doing the next thing, I'm not thinking about the thing that happened 5 minutes ago. Usually got to do something physical, like I'll do push-ups or whatever it is, or I'll force myself to go to the gym or read a book. And then all of a sudden it's like 5 minutes later, I'm like, oh yeah, I was upset 5 minutes ago, and now I'm happy. It's pretty amazing how quickly we can turn things around mentally for ourselves.
Yeah, dude, I think about this a lot of like, you know, that whole kind of conundrum of like reaching a psychological equilibrium. A lot of times, especially take anything, anxiety, depression, whatever. Typically we think a thing, our body gets, you know, a negative thing typically, like, oh my God, like I'm gonna have a heart attack, or oh my God, like, what's going on? I'm breathing weird with anxiety, or just kind of like, you know, with depression, like everything's pointless. I'm never going to amount to anything. What's the point? And then whenever we have those thoughts, and, you know, the reason they affect us is because we believe them on some level. We're like, you know, either like, oh my God, I am going to die, or like everything is pointless. And we get kind of like, just kind of, you know, doused in these negative kind of, you know, whatever neurochemicals or whatever they are, neurotransmitters or whatever. We just get, our bodies get hit with this like horrible feeling. And it's like what you're describing, Wes, of like when you feel bad, how do you kind of power through that and then get to a state where you're back to like, you're back on the bicycle, you're back to doing your stuff. And dude, it's like there has to be some level of like, when you're feeling bad, you have to be able to believe a thing that doesn't exist in a way of like, like, yeah, but this will only be temporary, or this will only be this, or I will be feeling like better soon, or at least neutral. And you have to do it in a way where like you have to believe a thing that's not necessarily there, and then it will kind of come. But it's like you have to be able to like ride through that little hump. And how can you not let those little humps send you into kind of some like negative action that just makes things worse? And that's like, I think one of the biggest things to try to figure out, like, can you, while you're feeling bad, can you kind of attach yourself to, the state of not feeling bad, which again doesn't exist right now, but will. And it's like, if you believe that, it comes, it's really weird. Like, I'm really kind of obsessed with this idea of like belief. And if you actually believe a thing, how much that can kind of almost change your biology. And
absolutely.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah. I mean, every cancer book I've read, I think I've read 3 or 4 at this point in time, just because cancer's, top 3 list of killers, if not number 1, depending on how you start to group these things. But in every single book, it talks about belief systems, and these are not, I'm not reading like hippy dippy books, right? Because I mean, it's very simple. And I find it took me years to learn this, but basically your negative thoughts, right? If those trigger your nervous system to be in fight or flight, you by definition are putting your body in a state that shuts down the immune system, because it's more important for you to run or fight the thing that you are scared of, even though they're completely making it up. So you're shutting your immune system down, like the rest and digest part of your immune system. So I think it's parasympathetic versus sympathetic nervous system. And your parasympathetic nervous system is the one that allows you to rejuvenate and rest. But we are constantly in our sympathetic nervous system, which is like a state of heightened alertness and anxiety. So you keep on doing that. And then for like cancer patients, why that information's in cancer books is because you have to give your body the time and space to be able to help heal itself and not constantly be worried about it. And the data on that is very clear, very clear.
Well, I've done in terms of having like, I used to have like really bad health anxiety, and I've gotten good at like just being like, all right, my body stuff's up to my body. I'm not going to worry about it until like, if I pass out, I'll be made aware of the fact that my body's not working. Or if I'm having like, if I'm like, if I can't breathe or pass out, then I'll start to be like, hey, what's going on with my body? You know what I mean? But until then, it's like, it just doesn't require any of my conscious attention whatsoever. And, that's been, dude, the health anxiety shit. Yeah. I saw someone was saying that's their daemon, dude. It sucks, dude. Because, but the other thing too, and maybe this sounds kind of crazy, but like the thing that really helped me with anxiety was just coming to grips with my mortality. Just being like, well, I am going to die one day, and whatever, dude. I'm so sick of living like this. I don't even care if that comes tomorrow, because this fucking sucks. And going to kind of interacting in that mode where it's like, well, I'm just going to do this stuff, and you start to launch into a little reality testing. Like, well, what if I do run 2 miles? Will I really die? And you run 2 miles. Oh, I didn't die. Great. Awesome. Cool. And you start to kind of like reality test, and you can kind of get yourself out of that. But the other thing too is this is something I kind of like. Chupacabra hit us with a getting your mind in a positive place, like starting up a lawnmower. I love that, dude. Just like, you have to push a little fucking whatever that gauge with liquid is, the primer, just push that a couple of times, give it a couple rips. Yeah. Even stuff like that helps you kind of laugh. Like if you're in a negative mindset and you're just like, oh, and then, to me, it's just kind of, sometimes that can cheer you up.
And dude, I'm sorry to laugh, but literally as you were saying that, ASB comes in with the classic ASB comment, and you got to read it. Dude, I'm so glad ASB is part of the team, because he's a pure example of have some goals. Doesn't matter the social context, doesn't matter what other people think. You just go for it, and just the authenticity, man. ASB, welcome back. Happy Monday, brother. And in true ASB form, just comes in with a bomb comment like that. It's so phenomenal. So, but Matt, I got to throw this topic out to you.
Yeah.
So now that we've got the scorecard, and everybody listen to this, I highly, highly, highly recommend downloading the scorecard so we can all use it and just say, hey, what are your points for the week? What were your points for yesterday? I put it in the questions section if you guys need the link to that. But I want to throw out the idea of sort of like identity shifting goals, because I think Once you get the fundamentals down, then it's like, how do you get your identity? How do you start to do things and set goals that make you into the person that you want to be? Right. And like there are these very clear things that you could do. So the sleep, the water, the praying or meditating, the act of love and so on, that is the baseline. That is the baseline that will get you through the hard times, right? Or get you around the hard times. You're not going to get sick as much, for example, if you sleep a lot. So that you avoid chaos there. But it's like, that's not going to get you to the next level. You then have to do something with that energy. And Matt, you are a perfect example of identity evolving goals. So for instance, I mean, I don't know how you guys know this, but like, Matt's a writer, he's a comedian, he plays guitar, he can sing, he can do all of these things. Any single one of those things is an identity evolution. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I'm following. I'm trying to think of now. I'm like thinking like, all right, what has been, what has been okay. So I love this idea a lot, actually. Because how do you kind of use this to kind of empower your self-conceptualization from being rather than being like this stupid, meaningless, it's like, are you a god or a worm? The old question. I forget, some philosopher asked that, but it's like, yeah, dude, honestly, and this was interesting for me too. Like, again, I've talked about this before, but it was like, I love doing stand up. I love to write, of course, but there's also, I think, for me, a more of a mental payoff for just kind of like just connecting with people and helping them out. Like, dude, that's like my favorite thing. Like when I was talking about the guy, when I was working in the housing thing, getting people who got out of prison, like getting them apartments, basically, like I got this guy a 2-bedroom apartment. It was like a struggle because everyone was like, didn't want to rent to him and blah, 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 blah. And I remember he was like, I'm going to lose. It was something where like he had custody of his kids. And if he didn't get a place with more bedrooms, he could have possibly lost custody. And, his wife had just died. It was just a horrible scenario. And I remember like after like, this was weeks. So this guy was dogging me. We'd fight. We'd go back and forth. And finally he was in the room with me. I found him a landlord that said yes, found him a place in a decent neighborhood. And I remember just, dude, the feeling of finding this guy an apartment it was identical to winning Phillies Funny when I won Phillies Funnies in 2014. Like the overwhelming joy, and it might sound funny, but it was the same exact feeling. So it's like, one of them is like, seems like, oh my God, that's such an important goal, an identity forging goal. But then there was like, well, I get the same feeling for like getting a dude an apartment. I felt like super fucking stoked.
Oh,
so
no,
it's
that's
like,
awesome.
The thing this year I've come to grips with is like, part, and again, you can have different aspects, but part of it, the thing that I'm really trying to like kind of linchpin, or like the linchpin of my kind of identity, is figuring out how to merge all of my interests into one thing that has like an actual meaningful purpose rather than being scattered like I was. Like, again, like, yeah, I could play guitar, I can do all these different things, but it's like, what do you do with that? It's like, do I do this? Do I do that? Do I do this? And it's like, now it's kind of like the things are starting to kind of coalesce, and like, I still like doing stand up. I like entertaining people. And then if I can have like a smaller kind of undercurrent of just kind of, helping people gain purpose and meaning in their lives, dude, it's like, that is something I can actually, now if someone goes, so what do you do? Before I was like, I can't even answer it. Now it's like, I have an actual like answer of like a foundation. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah. Well, because I'd be curious to know for those things. So now it seems like your next identity shifting goal is what you're doing now. Like, how do you aggregate all of that to then go and help people? Like we said last night on the Dad Meet podcast, my goal, and it seems like very similarly, your goal is to help men make progress. And that for sure is an identity shifting intention and an identity shifting goal. And I'd be curious to know, what identity shifting goals have you done in the past? Like, for instance, playing guitar is one of them. Right. And that's why I was talking, like, I think that's going to be my next one. Like for me, dancing was definitely one of them. There was before dancing for me. And then there was after. It opened up this entire world, this complete asymmetrical reward relative to the work I put in, because I wasn't doing an iteration of my prior self, if that makes sense. Like, I wasn't just slightly improving a key aspect of myself. I was creating an entirely new part of the identity. And then all of a sudden that opens up this enormous landscape to grow into. But then the cool thing about it, there's so many rewards there. So I imagine for you, everything that I just listed, right? The stand-up comedy, the guitar, the author, like all of those things, all of a sudden it gives you, not only does it teach the world who Matt McCusker is, but then it also teaches you who you are. you are creating that statue of yourself as you go. You just added another thing. And that's cool. And I don't think that should ever, ever, ever stop. But that's the thing that I would like the men to think about, all of us to think about. It's like, when you set your goals, what is that next identity shifter? So don't play the game small. And maybe that's losing weight for you. Maybe that's, it's, hey, like I've never had a six pack before, or whatever it is. And Matt, for you, it's how do you get that next level of service to humanity? So I'd be curious to see what the guys are. But does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense, man. I think that's that's kind of a profound thing to think about, because I never really thought about it that way. And it's also, now that I'm thinking about, when you have different domains, they can also, like, you can break through in one domain and it'll help you with other, like, again, with like the writing thing. It was like, I was doing stand-up writing and all this stuff out of the more of like an ego-driven thing of like, I just want to be widely recognized and have everyone say I'm the best. That's like, which is an impossible goal. It's never going to happen. And then in my experience, even when I did get a little like, hey man, you're the best, or this is great, or whatever, it just rings hollow. It's just like, I don't believe it. So thanks for telling me that. But I genuinely don't believe that at all. So then I, there was a point where I realized, like, I'm on like kind of a fool's mission here. And then it was like, what do I actually like to do? What I've always been thinking about. And again, it was like going back to school, doing like work, working with kids in high school. That was so fun. That was so fun and like just inherently rewarding. And it just like snagged my attention for 6 hours. I would sit in a room and just talk to like 4 or 5 different people. That was another thing, like, damn, dude, this is awesome. But like I was saying, the writing, once I started kind of approaching, like that kind of opened up like my more approach to like a service value creation, and obviously talking to you, and then it just like I got to like reconceptualize all the other things that were kind of like what would you say, like identity expanding skills. I just kind of ran them through that new filter, rather than like service to the ego, just service to others. And it's like, now I love writing more, and I actually enjoy the process of writing a lot more. I actually enjoy doing stand-up. I didn't like doing stand-up for a while because it was just it felt completely empty to me. I'd go out and be like, people would laugh or not laugh, and I would just get done and be like, I don't see the purpose. And now it's just like, oh, I just want people to have fun, man. If you're at work, this sucks, blah, blah, blah. You can come out and I'll at least, I can give you 25 minutes of an enjoyable experience. So,
yeah, man. And ASB, I got to give him credit, because he said, this month is a huge month for me. I decided to stop going to Legion of Skanks, I think it says, to focus on dance this year. He's investing $1,200 in his annual membership to a new dance studio. Dude, it's so funny. ASB, ASB on a similar wavelength a lot of times. I was going to actually pull the trigger on something similar, drop about $2,000 on for a 6-month membership to the place out here. But that's the other cool thing about it. It's like, pick those identity shifting goals, and then there's not going to be a ton of them. There's going to be a handful, and then focus all of your resources on that handful. It's no different than if you had an entire room full of plants. It's hard to make that gallon of water be effective for all of them. It's like, pick the select few and water those plants and let the rest of them die away, because most of them are not important. So it's cool to see that he's doing that, man. But I think my next one, I'm debating this, is going to be guitar, because Matt, you and I have talked about it a long time. I've talked about it a long time. And I think I'm ready to make that shift. But being able to sit, like you did a lot in college, like being able to sit there and watch you kind of strum on the guitar, and then everybody's like, everybody in the room gets enjoyment out of that. Like, that's a cool gift to society, and a cool gift to give to your wife as well. So I'd like to be able to do that. And I haven't made the decision yet, but what are your thoughts? Would you recommend it? Guitar?
100%. Yeah, dude. Guitar, piano, whatever. Like I said, the thing that I think is I was always kind of like, oh, I don't want to play in front of a bunch of people. I never kind of like, every now and again I have a couple times like gone out and actually played, but it's like, dude, just being able to play for like your kids. Like, I'm like excited to be able to play for like Maya when she gets a little older, teacher. It's just a thing. It's like a serious, genuine skill you can give someone that they can take into their entire life. I mean, it's like, Andrew Spud taught me how to paint houses. And it's like, that's something I'm like, damn, I possess now a skill that's valuable. And, playing guitar, same thing. It's like, I don't really think of it in terms of like its commercial value, but it's like, yeah, like you were saying, if you're in a room full of a bunch of people, most people will be very pleased to see like, oh man, someone's playing the guitar. This is exciting. This is awesome. So it's like, yeah, there's no reason not to do it. And I do think music is really, in my opinion, an integral part to, human life. And it's good. If you can learn how to generate it, it's like amazing. So,
oh, dude, there's something to it, man. There's really something to it. Nick is saying music has been the biggest gift in his life. Been fortunate to play a lot of really great shows with a ton of amazing musicians, and there's no better feeling. Yeah, see, like, that's how I feel about dancing. Like, and to any guys listening, it's like go out and commit to taking 10 dance classes. And ASB, I think, will support me in this. And Matt, I think, will support me in this. If you can really get connected to the arts or get connected to music and movement, it is a complete game changer. It's humbling and satisfying and exciting at the same time, every single time. But Matt, I'm thinking about, I'm stuck between acoustic guitar or classical guitar. I know we've had this discussion in the past, but I kind of feel this gravitation towards classical guitar. I don't know. I like the sound of it for some reason, but what are your final thoughts on that? Because I know you've given me a summary on this before.
I think it's easier to learn on, in my opinion, learn acoustic, because the classical guitars, like the strings are super high. I think they don't tear your fingers up, but I think the action on the guitars, like how far the strings are up from the neck on classical guitars, are super high. I prefer just a regular acoustic, but again, it all depends on what kind of music you want to play. So if you want to learn how to play like more like classical kind of technical sounding music, it's not bad to learn how to play on that, because you will learn how to like finger pick and do all that stuff. But I think for the ease and for like the sheer joy of just like learning some chords and getting started, I would just do an acoustic guitar.
Okay.
I would learn acoustic, see if you like it, and then if you really, really love playing guitar, then I would pursue like getting a classical guitar and doing that. But I think you should just get a regular acoustic, to be honest.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I apologize in advance if I go against that, but we'll see how it goes.
No,
dude, Guitar Center.
Yeah, dude, absolutely, dude. Like I said, definitely get whatever one you're drawn to. Just take that thing, because it'll be cool either way.
There's got to be some cool apps out there. I think you were mentioning one before the show. There's got to be some cool software out there that can really help expedite the learning curve.
I mean, I just found one called chordu.com, just CHORD, the letter U.com. Okay. And it's like, it'll just play the song for you and show you which chord. Because usually you'd have to like look at the chord and then like kind of follow along with the lyrics while you're listening to the song. And like, am I on? But this one like plays it for you while it just like FC, blah, blah.
Interesting.
Let's hit the goals, dude. Let's hit the goals and get at it. So what do you have? What do you got going on?
Dude, so I want to nail a scorecard. I want to be accountable to that and like actually, and tell people every day or, at the end of the week, hey, this is what I'm doing. And then I'm not moving my goals off of. So now, since we got the scorecard done, I'm working on the video. That'll take me a few weeks, but it'll be like my first teaching video that I want to make super concise about some of the stuff that we talk in here.
Yep.
And then I want to work on the website, like getting the newsletter up and running for everybody. So those are the two things. So scorecard, newsletter, and the video. So I'm super, super pumped. And that's obviously in addition to all my day-to-day stuff of, running, building the company and so on. So how about you?
So I finally did this thing that I talked about. I did that little YouTube thing of like kind of discussing values through, or trying to find goals that reflect your like more like inherent, deeper kind of self-chosen values. So it gives your actions meaning as opposed to just like going through the motions. So there, I just threw a link into this thing to that. I threw it in the Discord, which first of all, people don't have the link to the Discord. I think, Discord's weird, man. I'll try to give a link, but sometimes when I do it, let me see. So this is a link. I don't know. I'll try to do it later. I'm not even going to mess with that, because whenever I send Discord links, they stop working after like a second, and everyone will go, "What the hell is with the link?" Blah blah blah. So I'll focus on that later. But so I'm going to answer Troy's question. He said he got 7 hours and 45 minutes. I need to know for your score. It's like at that point, I wouldn't even worry about it. If you feel well rested, I would just mark it off. Say you did it.
Yeah. Let's say within 15 minutes, you're good. That's so. Just so you know, my goal for sleep is always to have my human in bed for 8 hours, because like your brain can play tricks on you. Sometimes you're up for a long period of time. It's like my goal for sleep is be in bed for at least 8 hours, and then the rest will take care of itself, if that makes sense. But lights off, obviously, no phones, no nothing like that. So yeah, and then don't overcomplicate this stuff. Like make it super simple, because what we're trying to do is just to get you focused on the right things. But yeah, Troy, I'm down for you selecting that you hit that goal for 8 hours.
Yeah. Okay. So actually, absolutely, I think you definitely should give yourself that. So with all that being said, here's the goals. I just wanted to show that I did that thing from last week. So 4,000 words in the book that I'm writing, 4 workouts. I'm going to go I have a pull-up bar here, and I'm going to go buy a heavy bag because the shipping got delayed for too long. Thanks, Troy, for throwing that in there. The shipping got delayed, so I'm going to go buy a heavy bag today and then get that installed, get the heavy bag and a pull-up bar in my basement so I can start doing some better workouts down here. I'm going to get 2 learning modules done for Psych Null, and I'm also going to take a cold bath. I try to take a bath a week, but I'm doing one hot, and I'm doing 1 cold bath. And also, I'm going to start adding waking up early. Just 2 days this week, I'm going to get up at 6 a.m. So,
oh, dude, we got to riff on the cold bath real quick. So I've got a challenge to throw out there to you.
Yes,
I've got video to prove it. I got all the stuff, and a challenge to the rest of the guys. And I'm gonna, just so everybody knows, I'm gonna put Lucas's link to his book up on the questions, just to give him some positive momentum there. So Lucas, thank you very much, brother, for coming on the show. Welcome to the team. So okay, here's the challenge, Matt. And this might be a little too extreme, but I'm just throwing out there to you and the rest of the guys. So 100 pounds of ice.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You can leave the hands and the feet out. And like, I don't fit in my tub, so it's like hands and feet out. And if that means knees, but just make sure the core and all the way up to the neck is submerged. So just
how'd you feel?
Terrible. So like, so I got a hot shower afterwards. I was messed up for, let's say, the first like 20, 30 minutes post the 20 or so. I was in there for 20 minutes, but dude, I gotta say, like, after that, like it felt legit, like really felt legit. So anyway, it's something to consider. I took a video, so I would love. I believe
it. So my tap runs really cold. So I'm gonna baby step my way into that, just because I just, the ice.
I know you and cold water have a
dude. It fucks me up, man. But I swear to God, I measure my tap. I think I got to remeasure it, but I swear it came out at like 40, like upper 40s. So I'm gonna start with that. Yeah, I have to make sure. I could be off, but I'm gonna put like as cold water as possible, and then sink in that, and then start adding the ice. And I'm gonna start slowly. I like to slowly creep things up, because I'll like, remember when my leg cramped up in the cold tub? I hopped in a cold tub at a gym one time, and my leg muscle, like, completely, the whole calf muscle went into a ball this big, and it was like the scariest shit I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, dude, telling you, man, I'm going. And also too, if you're going to do outdoor, Troy, just like maybe bring a buddy with you, just someone to watch you from the shoreline in case you like pass out or whatever. Yeah, maybe I did need electrolytes, so that could have been the thing. I probably was like wickedly dehydrated.
Oh no, dude. Yeah. So Matt is even like, we went to the gym, and there was a cold tub at the gym, and literally, if you ever see a cat like on a cartoon that just like kind of crawls like to like go off, that was him over the cold tub, like all 4 spread out like inches from the water, like would not do it. But dude, it's a game changer, man. I wish I used to do it every day at the gym, and they don't have any cold tubs out here. So now what we do is when we go to the ocean. But if you do that, man, it's first of all, it's crazy how much your tolerance increases over time.
Yeah.
But then also the phenomenal thing is like how good of sleep that I get after. Like, it just feels so freaking rejuvenating. So yeah, man, I would love to see your progress in that area.
Oh, I'm gonna step it up for sure. I will do it at some point. I have to now. There's no, I have to do that. But I'm gonna gradually sink into it. I've been doing a thing in the shower that I think is really nice in terms of trying to tap into more of like your observing mind. And again, it's just a simple thing of just blasting the cold water at the end of a shower. And I used to, again, I would, like, I can't breathe, I can't this. And I just jack myself with cold water, and I simply notice the fact that water is cold, if that makes sense. Like, I just go like, yep, I'm in cold water right now. And I just allow myself to kind of gain some distance for myself in terms of being like, this is very cold water. And I try to just not react to it, but just notice it, and again, as soon as I get done, I'm like, like I freak out, but it's like, dude, it's pretty cool. So
it's a good challenge every morning, bro. It's a really good challenge every morning.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that today. Actually, I'm gonna go for a run and take a really cold bath.
Oh, not like, now I'm considering I gotta like follow through with it, So yeah, I should consider. I'm not going to commit to it yet, but I will strongly consider it this week to see if I can work it in, because I used to do it every morning. But I will say that you have it way harder, because in Philadelphia in the winter, that cold tap water, like, that comes out, that's super cold. That's like it's borderline ice water. Like, if you put ice in a cup of water, that's
chilly. It's chilly. I'm gonna go run my tub. I have a little laser thermometer. I'm gonna measure it and see what I'm clocking in at.
Yeah,
awesome. That's ours. We have water. Nick was saying, because we have water. It's colder, dude. The water.
Cool. Well, on that note, dudes, thank you guys so much. Lucas, keep kicking ass, bud. ASB, everybody, Austin, Nick, Troy, Clee, all you guys listening, Ray, etc.
Let's go.
Cool. All right, dudes.
And like you said, like, dude, the best thing ever, like Wes said, jump right into your stuff right now. Just jump right in there.
Yeah. Hell yeah. All right, guys. Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
Later.